I'd like to thank everybody for joining for another episode of Black Women Parlay. Now, today's episode is a really meaningful one for me, just because it represents part of my own journey. And that's because when I think about wellness, not now, but when I thought about wellness previously, it was always skinny, white women promoting don't eat, just drink water, only eat cucumber, this, but it was never anything that felt relatable and or tangible to me as a Black girl. And in the past few years, what's kind of been, girl, that's a bit overstated, woman. What's been, a really important part of my own journey in terms of developing and making space for myself has been connecting with Black women's wellness and seeing it and having that space for us and seeing that space, the reflection of you in all the ways, in a way that's unapologetic, whether it's luxury, whether it's, which I like, whether it's luxury, whether it's middle end, whether it's, how can you do simple things at home that still cater to you? It's been really important to see Black women at the forefront of this movement. And this is why our guest today, Miss Chloe Pierre, being here is, an honor. She's going to tell you about her book. And we're going to be talking about really how she disrupted the wellness industry for the fact that this new space that's being created for us as Black women means that it helps us have more tools when we're in survival mode. If there's nowhere else we need to be, we know that there's a space that can take care of us. So, Chloe, so happy you're here. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, can you tell the good people what you're about, your brand? Of course, we need to talk. So we've got to give an extra round of applause because Chloe's book came out yesterday. So you need to tell us about the book and all these good things.
Yes, thank you so much for having me again. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me get straight into it. So I am Chloe Pierre. I'm a mother to a 1-year-old. I am a digital marketer by trade. Alongside that, I'm a content creator, specializing in UGC as of 2023. I just need to stop saying by the way. And
also, you break down UGC for those who do not know, like me.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an influencer / content creator. I would think I'd more lean on the content creator side than influencer. I'm really good at creating and sourcing content and just seeing what makes a great post. So I've taken that knowledge and I've created almost like a new role for myself within the influencer marketing scene. And it's called UGC, and it's user generated content. And it's basically content that looks like it's created by real people. And of course, influencers are real people, but then there's filters that are involved, and there's a lot of high editing and a lot of miscommunication generally within the influencer realm. Whereas with UGC content, it's really direct, it's straight to consumer. It makes a consumer feel like it's actually them in the piece of content. And I think that's something that I've always tried. And it's that authenticity that has kind of kept my career going. I don't have a huge number of followers, but I do get a lot of work. And I do have that authenticity with both my client and brand relations, as well as with my audience. So it's just a natural progression for me to create content for brands that I don't necessarily have to post, but it's something that can supplement both my career, my income, and also the brands that I love and care for.
Right. I didn't know about. So thank you for educating me on that, because I was like, what's this UGC? Because like acronyms, when you're this
yes,
go back to back. But for all the newbies out there like myself, this is like knowledge. Always contributing to this knowledge economy. Sorry, carry on.
Yes. Alongside that, I'm now an author, a published author. My book is called Take Care. It came out on the 5th of January. I'm so excited for it to finally be out in the work. It's been a 2-year labor of love, blood, sweat, and tears. It's a book which also functions as a tool and a wellness guide specifically for Black women, but of course, Black people supplement every part of society. So essentially it's for everyone. And I'm really proud of it. I think there's so much of the book that needs to be out into the world, but we're taking it baby steps, baby steps. I'm so excited. So that is my labor of love that has now been published to the world. It's had such international reach, which is great. We sold out Waterstones, which is a huge bookshop and branches franchise in London. And yeah, it's just wild. We've had extra copies printed through demand. So really interesting. And then alongside that, I'm a founder of a wellness company called Thyself, which aims to actualize wellness, make it diverse, make it inclusive, and to basically give credit where credit is due when it comes to wellness practices, and give people the knowledge that the wellness industry quite happily misses out.
Mm.
So, for example, there's trends, turmeric was one, yoga is one, but no one ever credits the source where it comes from. And of course, those two things probably originate from India. But then there are oils like your yoga oils and shea butter and, rosehip oil, which people go insane for in the Western world, but no one really knows where it derives from. It derives from African countries. And there's little done when it comes to giving credit where credit is due. And then on top of that, Black people, especially people of color, just in general, are excluded from that conversation unless you look a certain way or you fit into a certain tax bracket. So we are all about breaking that down. We've been around for 4 years as of last October. And this year, I'm hoping to see a really great scale up. We're going to be launching Thyself 2.0. And I hope it's well received.
Well, I think if we go by how your book has been received, there's something, one of my favorite words is like democratization. And there's something really powerful about when you democratize something for Black women in particular. We are a very we're an overlooked Black, bracket as it is. Thus, the reason for you to have written your book about Black women's wellness, the reason why I even founded Black Women Parlay is we're overlooked as a demographic, but we also have a lot of spending power. And it's not just, we have spending power, but above and beyond that, we're also savvy customers. And this is what people forget, is that a lot of the, and I'm going to say, practices that we've been brought up with as Black women, no, we never called it homeopathy. No, we didn't. But let me tell you, my grandma knows how to make a tea or make a poultice or whatever it might be. This whole pop a pill situation is not the upbringing for most, African, Caribbean, African people. What we have is a tea, a herb, a something.
We're the original herbalists, basically.
Correct. So when we're now seeing, I will never forget this. When my grandparents came here and they used to drink sorrel, everyone's talking about what is that nastiness. You now can't move for everyone. Oh, sorrel. You're like, listen, been there, done that. That is basic stuff. But nobody gives credit, as you said. And I think this is
and we don't give credit to it as well. That's a massive part of this. I want Black women, Black people to now start taking ownership of the things and the practices that we have been cultivating for years and for centuries. That's what I think a massive part of this book is about, is empowering people to do so.
Yeah. And just really getting back to what I'm going to call, I know Amy Winehouse said back to Black, but in many cases not being ashamed of, once upon a time, homeopathy was seen as, anything that was alternative medicine was seen as less than if it wasn't Western medicine. And if I think of some of my friends who are, Chinese, they've stayed very true to Chinese medicine. Like they was like, no. My Western doctor says this, but Chinese medicine says this. So this is what I'm going to be doing. And they invest in buying herbs and whatever it might be in combinations from, Chinese chemists and all this kind of stuff. We don't have that same pride because it was taken away from us. And then it's been westernized, globalized,
repackaged, repurposed. And the problem with that is that when things are misappropriated, then errors happen. And the original purpose of things get diluted. And that can be a problem. That can be very dangerous actually for people's health.
Mm-hmm. Not understanding the real implications or understanding what the true medicinal purposes of this particular thing is. So here's a question that I'm going to ask you. What made you, because I'm thinking about this from a consumer perspective. So as a consumer, as I said, like I didn't see myself in wellness loads of years ago. And when I say wellness, I also mean like back in the day when I used to go to 10 Pilates, and all reformer Pilates, I was the only Black person who was there. Obviously, then I've had like the top echelons, like someone like Naomi Campbell, who'd go there with like nobody else there. But there wasn't that space around. And what really made you be bold enough to develop thyself and really create and carve out, write your book and carve out this space for Black women?
Yeah, so thyself came about first, and it came about through frustration. Everything that you just mentioned, I just thought this is ridiculous. So it was when I was on that journey of well-being, I would go online, and self-care was always focused around a product, and I thought, I can't do this, and also that product might not be right for me. So thank God I had that awareness. And then I started looking into wellness practices, wellness facilities. And lucky for me, like yourself, I was able to visit those spaces. I was able to do it as an influencer, which means I didn't have to always pay to go, which was a privilege. But often I would be in those spaces and I would feel so uncomfortable. One, maybe I felt uncomfortable because it was something new to me, and that's pretty standard and something that I really exercise to people and like really explain, is that sometimes to be uncomfortable and come out of your comfort zone is like a major part of this journey. And you can find out so much about yourself through this. But the other part was that I was made to feel uncomfortable. I was made to feel othered, and made to feel as if like I was here as some kind of tokenism. And possibly I was, but I had a right to be well. Wellness isn't exclusive to white, slim, able-bodied, straight women. It's not. And it's not exclusive to any particular demographic at all. So why was I made to feel like that? So I constantly like made those efforts because it was about myself, and I put myself at the forefront of this experience. So I would choose to actively ignore being made to feel unwelcomed into spaces, with the knowledge that I was taking care of myself, and that was bigger than anything. But I knew that that was a strength, and I knew that that wasn't something that everyone could do.
Yeah.
So the more I did that, and the more I felt uncomfortable, and the more I actually had like issues, so microaggressions on a regular basis, I just thought, no, I need to do something about this. I need to build a community so I won't feel alone. So it's quite selfish. I won't feel alone, and other people could, get their wellness up and start this journey, and we could do it together. And it wasn't just for Black women, it was for anyone that felt othered, anyone that was plus size and didn't feel like the exercises or the spaces worked for them. I remember being in a yoga class and really struggling. It was one of those hot yoga experiences.
You're good to do this. All I'm going to say to you is you're good to do that, because the amount of people that faint in those hot yoga classes and that I already know that's not for me. So hats off for trying it, because no.
Well, I tried it and my mum was really into it, but of course she can, she really ignored other microaggressions that she faced as well. So I knew that that was a thing. But I was there, and the instructor speaks on a mic, and it's like really dim lit, thank God. But she was literally antagonizing me the whole session. So speaking on the mic, saying how I wasn't doing things right. So everyone around me could see that she was speaking about me. So it really put me in a spot. And later, now I realize how insensitive that was and how disgusting that behavior was that she portrayed. I did explain it to the studio. I don't know if anything happened, but I refused to go back, and I had a whole year's worth of membership. But now, knowing what I know now, there's so much more that I could have done about that in terms of educating both the instructor and the studio. But at the time, I just wanted to remove myself from that space straight away. And now I look back and I think it was a slim, whitey woman, able-bodied, that was teaching me, a woman of color, about yoga and embarrassing me and intimidating me in that space without any knowledge of how closely I'm related to the practice, more so than she is. And how even the practice itself is probably not even made for adult bodies. And that's the thing about yoga and the misappropriation or the appropriation of cultures and practices, is that a lot of the practices of yoga in the Western world is not made for adult bodies. Instead, they were made for adolescent boys. So that's probably why people struggle with it so much. And it's just something that is not recognized, but it's that entitlement and that privilege that allows for this behavior to continue and for this appropriation and this appropriation culture to continue. So that, in a long roundup, sorry, because I went on a bit of a rant, that's reasons why I started Thyself, and I wanted to make it known that there was someone that was going to shake it up and to give credit where credit's due, and to highlight the people behind certain practices, the tribes, their faces, and to make wellness about, representation rather than exclusivity.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing we sometimes have to recognize, is the burden, is that wellness is booming business, whether it's just like plastic surgery, whether it's the pursuit of looking younger, extending our lifetime, not just extending our lifetime, but extending life quality in the fact that we do also live longer. All of this stuff has become a very business focused thing. And the more exclusive and kooky, and I'm not saying yoga's kooky, by the way, but the more exclusive and kooky it can be, the more money can be demanded from it, demanded for it. And then all of a sudden it's the upper echelons of society. And then, as you said, it trickles down to everybody else. But by the time it's trickled down, it should no longer really and truly have the name of where it was stolen from, because that's not what it is. And right. And I think the other thing that happens is there is a real focus on selling spirituality, or selling practices that are aligned to some sort of spirituality, when the actual practice that it's morphed into has nothing to do with it,
Agreed.
to make it feel more authentic. And when you see all of that, it does make you question and go, not even just question, it's not a space created for you. It's not a purpose, or it doesn't serve its purpose for you. And I think that's why it becomes more and more important. I'm not saying that as Black women we always have to go to a Black yoga teacher or a Black whatever. But what I am saying is that I feel that there's a need for us to go to places and spaces where our bodies are not seen as odd, different, diverging from the norm, abnormal. You can say, oh, diverse, but what they mean is diverging, like diverging from normal standards. But whose normal standards?
Exactly. Who sets these standards? And who said that I'm, about it, or I'm, configuring to this ideology? Just because we are here, by location, by default, doesn't mean that we subscribe to all the beliefs. And I think that's something that we need to talk about a lot more. So yeah.
And it's funny because I know we started off on yoga, but there's her handle is, I think her handle is literally Fat Black Girl Yoga.
Oh yes, follow her.
Right. And you see her, and my girl is like
Killing it.
literally flexible, healthy, strong. And it's
She is defying everything that people say.
Correct. And it's this part about understanding that Western medicine, not actually, not even just Western medicine, but I'm just going
Western
to,
practices and ideologies, I think.
yeah, but not even just that. I was going to say, like, medicine you can take as one example, but I was going to bring it down to everything we do. So, crash test dummies, for example, just as an example, crash test dummies are based on men. So this is
Yeah.
why women die more in car accidents, because crash test dummies are not based on any women at all. So bringing that back, everything from BMI to, well, we know BMI is inherently racist, but this practice of what a healthy, strong body looks like. And that's not to say that of course, we have naturally, I used to be skinny back in the day. I used to be not back, but I used to be mager.
Yeah.
It's not to say that black women aren't skinny, but it's not to also say that black women aren't bigger. We've moved away from this idea of there being variety everywhere. The ideal has to be skinny or extremist parts of your body, be it your boobs or your batty or whatever. But we're not ready to accept that someone might have big boobs, big bum, and they might also happen to have a big belly and it's still healthy.
And also is that we're just so intersectional as well. Like one black woman doesn't identify as the same as other black women. And, I think that diversity is really prevalent within the black community. And I would say sometimes more so because it's such a radical act of self, being able to put yourself out like there like that. So I'd say more so than other communities as well. So, we just have to be more accepting of people just in general, the fact that things are different, their bodies is different, but they're also their mindsets and what the things that they subscribe to, their ideologies and the lifestyles that they live.
Mm, mm. And I think it's also for us. I mean, I'll give an example. When I read articles that talk about black women having larger hips, I don't have any hips. It is it's quite simple. My hips go downwards. But the point is that we also have to be able to embrace of our variety. The only reason why I'm avoiding the use of the word diversity is to not cause confusion.
Yeah.
Is our variety that we have, to embrace it. We don't have to present a certain way, and it's all of that. I think that to me comes together in being our wellness should allow us to be as expansive as we need to be. Our wellness should be as broad and as wide and as deep as we are all different and varied.
Yes. I couldn't be more in agreement with you.
Creating those spaces. And I think that's why it's really important from what you're doing with thyself. I think that's why it's really important is creating that community. And you said it's selfish, but because you were missing the community, but it wasn't really selfish, because ultimately what you also said in your second sentence was you wanted to share and go on the journey with others.
Yeah, I did. And I think one of my key skills is building community, and I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, I did feel like it was a selfish act, but it's just come around so much more now, and it's beautiful.
It is. I think, when they talk about from any like business perspective or whatever, the reason why people invent things is because they see a gap in the market that's not catering to their needs.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was that gap.
Oh my God, the gap was there for like forever, forever. Um, and since thyself, there's been a few more communities that have popped up or brands, and it's good. I'm never like, oh, they're stealing my ideas, because they can't. It's the more the merrier,
Mm,
the more that we can reach out to so many different demographics and intersections, the better. But also I just think your heart has to be in the right place. It's not necessarily a business venture for me. It's turning into that because I have to sustain it in some way. But it's for the love of doing it. I didn't get any credit when I did it, when I started it, none at all. I actually had people tell me it wouldn't work, that it's ridiculous, that I'm not black enough as a woman, or I'm not a black woman. enough
Sorry,
to
sorry,
create such spaces and things like this.
we
Yeah.
I can't move past that for 2 seconds. No, because I take severe umbrage with these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
Why are you not Black women enough?
I think it depends a lot on or it has to depend a lot on the person that makes those kind of statements, and what their idea of a Black woman is. So whether that's, it's really hard, because those same, if I'm speaking about the person, that actually said that to me, there's like two types of Black women in their head, and they're not my generation as either, so that I think that has its own kind of
Effects and stuff. Yeah.
traumas and effects, and factors. But they said that thinking that, there's like someone like Michelle Obama and Oprah, and they're so, they're up there. And then there's other Black women that is like struggling, and that she sounds a certain way, she speaks a certain way, she dresses a certain way, and she is that. There's no in between for them.
Okay.
And even if you could even put Oprah in that bracket, but she was dirt poor. She had nothing and she built her way up, so why would there be a certain way to speak? She doesn't speak like a typical woman from her background. Why is that a problem? Why is it that we have to speak a certain way, we have to look a certain way, we have to subscribe to certain things, we have to only date Black men, we have to only eat a certain type of food? Why?
Yeah. And that for me just feels,
It's
why?
stifling. It's stifling, and it's not progressive for our culture.
No, but
It's not progressive.
what I find really interesting, or what I would say I find interesting, is that within the American context, you and I do see the difference. Within the American context, you can have what I'm going to call ratchet women with money. Not all of them are ratchet, but I'm just going to say like how they sell it. Like I never really watched it. I don't think I've even watched a full episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. But at the time when it was being covered in the news, it was ratchet this, ratchet that, ratchet, ratchet, ratchet.
Yeah.
And it was a brand and a word that was sold as part of a part of a very specific American Black American woman's vernacular and everything, right? Fine. Then you have I'm going to call the Park Avenue princesses, show pony types,
Yeah.
Michelle Obama and whatever. Then you're going to have, I'm going to say, like the educated literati, like Elaine Welter and all that kind of stuff. But what you do get in America is that, and then the artists, right? But you get that breadth of academics, everything, and they're all successful, but none of them have to be. Their defining characteristic isn't how they behave. They're just all Black women. Whereas I
Yeah.
think within the British and European context, because Black culture has not been, and I don't know where I read this, but I read this in an article, and it said Black culture has been absorbed in the US as part of the American culture. That
Yeah.
means you can be a hip hop artist, etc., etc., etc. You can be successful, and whatever people's beliefs might be about Black people, you can still find them taking off. You can still find them into hip hop, right? Or Black culture, whether it's food, etc. Whereas in the European context, Black culture and our existence and our presence in Europe has not been accepted in the same way, because we only want to reference in a UK context Windrush. Now we're starting more with the reparations, if you look at like what's going on with Benedict Cumberbatch and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the point is that there hasn't been this inherent acceptance of Black people, which means to a lot of to a larger extent, the grace that you might be given, and I think it is a generational thing, I'd say, but maybe 5 years ago we probably didn't have the depth, but I think TikTok has been responsible for changing some
Yeah.
of that. Like some of the things that I've seen on TikTok, there's like I think it's called the Receipts podcast, with
Oh,
these
yes.
with these
We
like
had the same publisher.
okay, with these three young girls, they're definitely different to a lot of Black women in my generation, from
Yeah.
like how they speak, how they like, they're still obviously all kempt and stuff, it's not to say that,
Yeah.
but they are still very, they have a different style, so they're still showcasing a different kind of Black girl. You know, like, I don't know about education enough, I don't know anything about them, to be honest, but
Yeah.
it's that. And I think there's another young girl called, is it Musa, have I said it right? She does something with makeup.
I don't know. I'm rubbish at makeup.
Okay, well, in any case, there's, I think we're now seeing different styles, or we're seeing, they were always there, but we're now there's more space for women of different, Black women with completely different type background, styles, accents, to be in the limelight. And I think that's creating another change in movement as to how younger Black women are seeing themselves, instead of having to feel like they have to curtail themselves and be like the Michelle Obama style Black woman, when actually they can just be who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's changing, I think. And I think
And I think it's forever changing. I think that's the
mm,
beauty of it. And it's the beauty of us being able to make that into a movement, you know?
mm,
We
mm,
do that so naturally, so easy. And one thing that I wanted to say to you earlier is that, like, Black women in particular, we have qualities that so many people envy, or, you know, wish that they had so easy, or, you know, came so easy to them, but we don't really celebrate those things as much. So I'm hoping that with the book, and I'm hoping that just as a culture, we can move forward and really identify our key, like, strengths,
mm.
and make them, you know, income earners for us. You know, we have strengths and we don't need to downplay them. We don't need to dull our shines for anyone. And I think that will make a change across the generations. We didn't get here. I didn't get here by simply someone just accepting. There had to be a sense of rebellion, or you know, radical self-care and self-love and ownership of self, to get me to be the person I am today, or for my line of ancestors to even survive this long. So I just want people to know that, and to really embrace that knowledge. We're not here by accident, you know?
No, that's a powerful statement. We aren't here by accident. We're here through survival. We're here through,
Yeah.
you know, the
All odds. All
again,
odds.
all odds, and we're still here, and we're still moving, and we're still thriving. And I think, you know, in many cases, and this was like a thing, this is like a thing for me, and this wasn't just about wellness, this was also about just generally, I believe that I owe it to, like, my grandparents came to Britain, so I feel like I owe it to my grandparents as part of their legacy, not just to succeed, but part of them doing what they did was to enable their children to have a better life, and to enable their children's children, and forever generations to have a better life. And when you think about, when you come from a family that's been either displaced or moved to another place, the initial driver is to work, to save, to blah, to blah, to build foundations. There was no time for wellness. There was no time for, let me just sit on my laurels. It was all work, 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 build, work, build, work, build.
Yeah.
So to now be at this stage, they have to have done all that hard work for something, and that something definitely has to be that we put the time in to take care of ourselves, because they never had the opportunity.
They didn't. And we're that legacy, and we too have a position to, or a part to play in the legacy of future generations to come.
Mm,
So I'm just very much aware of that, and I'm hoping that my book Take Care will be a massive part of that, legacy for not just my family but other people in general, as a wider community, as a wider family.
mm, mm. And I think that's a really important part, because um when I think about book writing, and my book's coming out in September, October, it's about creating a legacy of of imparting insights and information to leave the world a better place, above and beyond. I was on another podcast with her named Charlotte Lewis, and she was talking about sharing. When she found her route to self-love, she decided to create her Center Me house because she wanted to share the success and the way she found to free herself with others. And I think there's no greater gift that you can give to anybody.
No, honestly. No, yeah, getting goosebumps.
And I think that's what the beauty of it is. And I think that's what the beauty is of all the things that you're doing when you look at them as a whole, is that it's all about driving that real meaningful interaction with ourselves, taking the time. One of the things that I think about a lot, it's funny enough, I made a video about this earlier on. I haven't posted it on TikTok yet, but it was about taking the time to get to know yourself and listen to yourself. Isn't just about your instincts. It's also about listening to your body when it tells you that it's tired. It's about when your body always gives you those signs that it's tired, and you go, I'm going to push through, I'm going to push through, I'm going to push through, I'm going to push through. You push through, and then what happens? Collapse. Not literally, but you're tired, you're exhausted, you can't. And that for me is, we have to be attuned to prioritizing ourselves, because without our full working selves, we can't deliver on anything anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just like taking it all in. I'm like, oof, like I done something really, like, even if it's just to open conversations and to get people to think about things again, and also in a different light. I've done that, and it's wild. I feel like last week was about the book launch, and this week is just like sitting in it and taking it all in. Yeah, because there's celebrating it, there's having a drink with friends, and that's amazing, but just being able to sit and think, okay, what have I done for my community? And where do we go from here? So yes,
the reality is that the world's your oyster. There's loads of places to go from here, because putting together a Black girl's guide, Black woman's guide to wellness is significant, because not very many people have taken the time out, if any. I don't think there's a book of its kind. Maybe there is, and you can tell me about competitors, but in very, very clear, specific terms, having a definitive guide, whether you subscribe to it or not, that's not what it's about. It's about, and this is one of the things that I will implore all of our audience. This isn't a plug of Chloe's book because I'm plugging it like that, but what it's to say is, we give other brands chances without even thinking about it. We give other books chances without even thinking about it. This is a book created by a Black woman for Black women. It should be a no-brainer. It should be a no-brainer. Now, obviously, you'd probably be too scared to say that, but because it's your book, but I can say what I want.
You can say whatever, and I'm just gonna, yeah.
No, but that's how I feel. We can always talk pro-Black, and when I say pro-Black, just for clarity purposes, pro-Black isn't anti-white. I'm talking about,
no. The fact that you have to iterate that is just mad to me. But yeah,
I know, but we know where we are.
Yeah.
The fact is that when we are pro-Black and we're talking about buying Black, then we gotta really mean it.
Yeah, and also think about why you're doing it. There's always everything for me in my, also just everything that I promote is always about intention. So it's, why did I write this book? Why am I buying into Black businesses? It's because I actually want them to succeed. I'm not doing it because I think because it's Black it's right, but it's because I believe in an ethos or a concept, or you know, the mission behind things. So I implore people to do that as well, regardless of which color, sorry, I can't believe I said that, but which heritage they derive from.
Yeah, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. I always think about it like this. If you're going to buy something, you're going to buy it. Why does a black product need more endorsement than any other product? If I'm going to try something, you see what I'm saying? Like, for me, it's actually that it's quite simple. If I'm going to try let's just say, I'm going to try a new foundation that comes from Giorgio Armani, and it's going to cost, I don't know, £40. I can take that same £40 and try a black brand, because in the end, all I'm doing is trying.
Yeah, so true.
And I think this is, for me, when it comes to buying black, for me, it's not just about the purchase. It's about the fact that we have to get better at giving the same amount of chance and opportunity to black brands as we do to every other brand. If you can throw money at Kim Kardashian stuff, and if you can throw money at, no, see the eye roll, but I'm with you. But if you can throw money,
no, I mean, I have, so I can't. I'm not eye rolling like that. I just think how much we do it in mass, or even like how much of us, you know, subscribe to watch, you know, their programs and things like that. It's all money at the end of the day, and it's an investment.
Right. So like, I'm happy to say I've never watched a single one of their shows, not anything else. But the point is, you know, it's that thing for me where I'm like, we have to get better at just not unintentionally raising the benchmark of purchase for black brands than others. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not to say that loads of black brands don't need to come correct with their customer service.
Oh yeah,
you know,
this is what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that buying black, or
Right.
you know, you solely have to do that, or that just because it's black means, you know. But I think there are other institutional factors that we need to consider. So yes, buy black, but also just be conscious and like intentional about that purchase and why you're supporting that brand.
Correct.
In fact, that could be more reason to support them. But you know,
support the brand, support black brands. But if there's an issue, don't default to it being, well, I expected it, because you know how black people say, yeah, we do. But
yeah,
we do. But at the same time, to your point, there are institutional factors that play a role, number one. And number two, in order to get better, they need to be shown how, and they need to be given feedback. And I do think, I know we're going off on a tangent like a little bit, but I think it's still very much important and key to our success as a community is to give feedback.
Oh yes. I think as a community, yes. I just think as consumers, 100%. That's the only way to go forward. But obviously, it's how you do that, and again, intention behind it. You know.
I mean, 2023 is my year of intentionality, and that just, you know, for me is, how do I choose to expend my energy? How do I choose to spend my time? Who do I choose to interact with? How do I choose to make this a year of difference? And all these things. And one of the biggest parts is, how do I, as a consumer, which I've been, to be honest, I have been an intentional buyer for a very long time.
Yeah.
You know, how do I continue and how do I further that intentionality, to our point, in the direction of black consumers? And how do I also support other black female entrepreneurs like you and myself? You know, there's not very many of us within the European space. How do we create space with each other to collaborate and, you know, to do something amazing? And this is why, you know, I'm happy that we're coming together with your Black Women's Wellness Guide and, you know, Black Women Parlay. It's a really, really important and powerful sign and signal, because it's also about showing that black women do collaborate with each other. You know, and it's not just the preserve of the US, and it's not just the preserve of people who have grown together.
Yeah, I just think, especially, I mentioned it in the book, is that just we as a diaspora are just growing phenomenally, and the partnerships are incredible. And I think a massive part of this whole process of the elevation of Black women is the fact that we are not only supporting each other, but we actually see each other. And it feels like we're starting to see each other for the first time.
Agreed.
Without any kind of, you know, malice towards which region we occupy or we stay in, you know, what heritage we have, which country we're from, what we look like, you know, these are still factors, and I understand that they do still tear us apart, but we're able to look at it in a different way this generation and going forward, you know.
Yeah.
We're not letting it define us or hold us back from reaching our goals.
Yeah, agreed. And I think,
and we're coming together. So,
and I think that's coming from more, you know, of an abundance mindset, that we're realizing that we've been taught to believe that there's that the pie is a fixed, the space, the size of the pie is fixed, and if one
yes,
takes it, then, you know, one cancels out the other. It ain't. The pie keeps growing. The pie keeps growing, and I think now that we're seeing that, that's had a real tangible effect as to how we then, you know, interact with each other. So we have done the full gamut today. It's been such a good conversation. Great way to start the week. Even though this is going to come out on Friday, it's going to be a great way to finish your week. Where can everyone find you? What do you want your takeaway message today to be?
My takeaway message is just to stand in your truth and prioritize your well-being for you. You have the right and the duty of self to make that a priority. That's something that you can do for yourself, and also do it for the legacy that you want. It's, you know, replacing generational wealth with legacy, and you're a massive part of that. So that would be my lasting word. I think every time I have an interview or every time I speak about the book, it's different depending on the audience and the conversations that I have, but I feel like this one is all about reaffirming ourselves as Black women, our power, and also how we move forward. And we move forward, you know, with good intention.
Yep.
For ourselves and for others. And, you know, I can't wait to see the growth at the end of the day. So that would be my lasting words. But you can find me on chloepierre.com, which is my blog. I also have my LinkedIn profile, Chloe Pierre. I'm on Instagram as Chloe Pierre LDN. Of course, you can see my work at thy.self, thy.self on Instagram, and we have the website at thy.self.space. I'm also on TikTok, and I'm really enjoying that.
Why did you have to say, oh my gosh, I love TikTok, so I'm gonna have to go find your TikTok. I have so much fun on TikTok, like seriously.
Yeah, I've just tapped into the fun part. I found it a little bit overwhelming at first. I was like, oh, another channel. I know that brands still really focus on Instagram, and, you know, that's a massive part of my work.
Yeah.
But TikTok is doing well, and you need to go where the fun is, you know, and you need to go where you feel safe and where you feel like you're most creative, especially as a Black woman. So do
TikTok for me, like Instagram's Instagram, and I'm trying to do my thing on Instagram right now, but TikTok for me is like where I am happy. TikTok for me is, I love TikTok. And you know what, like now I've started to post a few like I would talk about, you know, career things or whatever, but TikTok's also where I just go to have fun and do stupid videos and talk. You know, it's just, for me, it's just such a great platform. I love it. Anyway, you're going to take me off on a TikTok like journey. So Chloe, thank you so much for joining today. For anyone who's listening, you know where to find me at Leanne MM on Instagram, Leanne Mair on TikTok, Leanne Mair on Mair being spelled M-A-I-R, but you'll know that because that's you should, maybe you know who I am by now. And thank you as always for your time. Wishing you a wonderful day. Bye.